After a year-long absence, we're back, and we're still MySpacing it in the year 2021, and God willing in 2022 and beyond. But I think I'm going to take a new approach this year, because I'm sure, like all of you watching this video, I am entering our modern day society with a new perspective as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I've grown a new set of eyes when it comes to the importance of communicating with each other on these social platforms. But that doesn't make me any less of an advocate for MySpace now than I was in 2019. On the contrary, I'm actually more passionate than ever to argue my case as to why MySpace should not be the target of your nostalgic humor and harassment. You may assume that your jabs at my favorite social network are completely defensible, but you're sadly mistaken. 11 years ago, I set out on a mission to make a name for myself as the fresh sole survivor of MySpace. 9 years ago, I took action with my first of 8 videos clapping back at every judgment and every stone you people have casted on MySpace for what feels like far too long. With all that we've been through as a society in the last decade, for you all to still find reason to spread hate against the forefather of your favorite social media apps and websites that have dealt with controversies of their own, that have led them to being confronted by none other than the United States Congress, is the clearest example of the fact that we have not evolved as a progressive civilization. But even with all of that being said, as devoted as I have been to this cause since I was 19 years old, and now at age 28, I myself must face reality. The reality of the situation is that every single person on planet Earth with a consented accessibility to social media has their preferred applications. Sure, would I like it if more brands swallowed their pride and created MySpace pages to persuade their consumers to interact with on what is still a fully functional website? 100% I do. It would also benefit the mobile device using masses if MySpace actually had just as fully functional a smartphone application for that ease of access as well. The fact of the matter is that yes, even with fairly newcomers like TikTok and OnlyFans, there are 3 mainstays in the global sphere that dominate the social media market share, and unfortunately, MySpace, at the recording of this video, is not one of them. The Twit, Gram, and Book, or Meta, represent the triangle of necessities that the world is willing to live and die with as of winter 2021. I get it. I understand it. That sentiment has almost literally been shoved up my ass and down my throat for the past 11 years. And yet, I still refuse to accept a world where hundreds upon hundreds of millions of us are not communicating with each other on MySpace as my reality. I'm just one person trying to reach out to the pop culture sphere on this one singular video sharing tool, speaking to you right now as I have before. But damn it, I'm gonna continue to fight for this dream. I have everything to gain and the public reputation I will carry with me for the rest of my life in this years-long mission to ultimately disrupt civilization as we know it with the platform known as MySpace, that I absolutely implore you to begin to, if you aren't already, actively use to virtually exchange information on the internet. Please, guys, that's all I desire in life right now. 2020 was the most mentally draining year in modern history. A year that gave us clarity that the convenience of connectivity is more essential than I would have known otherwise. It was a depressing year that saw notable figures as well as millions of individuals make that inevitable trip to the great beyond. And regardless of what character they showed during their time here in this world, I send my condolences to their loved ones. Along with that, we had indefensible racial injustices being filmed on camera and spread through word of mouth, sparking not just nationwide but worldwide outrage in the form of heated protests. The global economy has been in a dire position. Then there's also the unmerciful effects of natural disasters such as hurricanes, wildfires, and tornadoes. And on a personal level, a situation that has left me living with heightened anxiety is when every time my mother, the matriarch of my immediate family, who I love very dearly, enters the not fully vaccinated world to go about her daily business. The same goes for the rest of my family, who have both their own respective lingering health issues and some reservations against each other as well. With all of that coming to mind, the last thing I would ever want to do in this moment of our lives is to tell you to remove yourself from a socialized platform whose job it is to provide the ease of access to the people in your life that you care the most about. I have to acknowledge my own failure of unsuccessfully getting the current iteration of MySpace off the ground after these last number of years of attempting to do so. But just because I'm bold enough to admit that failure, that doesn't mean that I'm waving the white flag anytime soon. MySpace is still my bread and butter of a social network, and I will continue to use it as a means to publicize my thoughts on my own life, my personal interests, opinions on pop culture, and society in general. I've been active on MySpace for the last 14 straight years. And as a matter of fact, throughout 2020 and 2021, my logins to MySpace have actually become even more frequent. But in this time of depression, fear, grief, frustration, uncertainty, and overwhelming hope, I will not use my voice to steer all of you viewers of this video away from your desired communication platform. If I could recommend just one thing to ask of you, the viewer of this video, is your combined assistance to raising awareness to both the technical setbacks and shortcomings that MySpace currently has. Being that I log on to the site on a daily basis, I've had to deal with a Cyberpunk 2077 level of bugs and glitches. Matters such as content postings not showing up on the page and having to hit the refresh button multiple times on my browser just so the content could actually appear. Old school photos showing up as broken links on photo albums. There's also the inability to play both most MP3 songs and video media. In addition to a handful of tech problems, there's also the matter of the non-existent editorial staff in which all entertainment news content are really just aggregated repost articles from the websites NME, Spin, and Time magazine, instead of self-publicized content. These examples, amongst others, are why I ask for your help to bring what I assume are fixable issues to the forefront. I ask for these improvements to happen so I can, in good faith, continue to use this one and only life I have to capitalize on the opportunities that America has to offer and get MySpace to the prominent position that I personally feel it deserves to be in. And I expect to continue to post videos like this in the coming years until this becomes a viral sentiment rather than me just repeating the same message in a different context year after year after year. So that's it. I hope by this time in 2022, the majority of the over 300 million people here in the USA received the much needed vaccination to flatten and stomp down this Lambeau Field sized curve so we can reintroduce our minds to a pre-March 12, 2020 series of morning, afternoon, and nightly routines. The best advice I feel like I can provide you is to just hold on to your faiths in whatever way this pandemic has disrupted your livelihood. And finally, I also want to acknowledge that this here YouTube channel celebrated 10 years of existence last November. I started this channel with the intention of supplying the world with viral video content that they would have never imagined they would ever see. From documenting antics on the back of a charter bus, to high school flag football highlights, to me calling out public figures in positions of massive wealth and influence, and sort of, paving the way for CM Punk to give out nearly 20,000 free ice cream bars at the United Center back in August. And of course, the meat and potatoes of this channel are the more than handful of years where these blue sunglasses have stared you in the face and have both politely and aggressively asked you to forget about your past unflattering memories of MySpace and to campaign with me in restarting the revolution that made it one of the most frequently visited websites of the mid to late 2000s. That's still my goal as we head into 2022, but with less of an us versus them mentality and thinking of it more as an alternative meets establishment gathering place that highlights all the best of what MySpace has to offer in comparison with its social media counterparts. So, with that being said, I hope to have a more enlightening message to express the next time I do one of these things. And I'll just end off with some common sense health tips, like washing your hands with soap, or at least apply some hand sanitizer once in a while. And also, wear a mask or a mouth covering in indoor areas that have large crowds of people. Ending the pandemic isn't just about preventing yourself from testing positive of this viral infection, but to give others the peace of mind that their physical, spiritual, and emotional health and wellness is considered to be every bit as important as yours. If I can live my life as optimistic as I am about the idea that better days are ahead for MySpace, then you can too. About shaking hands and sharing hugs with your fellow human and breathing in some fresh oxygen instead of disease-contained particles in a post-coronavirus world.